So if you didn't or did know, the NHL is going to be introducing a new team called the Las Vegas Golden Knights next season. The kicker here is that team only has one player on their current NHL roster. So how is this team even going to be able to compete? Well, the NHL has this thing called an expansion draft in place so that this team will be competitive right out of the gate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can this new team select whoever they want? Well, yes and no. The current 30 NHL teams that are going to be part of this draft have to protect the following players in the following format. So each team has to either select 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, or 1 goalie, or they can select 8 skaters in total and 1 goalie. There are also rules to who teams have to protect or don't have to protect. So players with no movement or no trade clause, so players that in their contracts that they don't want to be traded, they have to be protected. So this is like a Sidney Crosby. But it also kind of sucks because teams like Anaheim, who have a player like Kevin Bieksa, he has a no trade clause, but because of that, the team has to protect him over a player like Semi Vatanen, who they would probably rather protect. Anyways, there are also players that don't have to be protected or are ineligible for the draft. So these are the players that are in their first 2 years of their NHL career in either the NHL or AHL. So this would be like the Austin Matthews or the Patrick Launnes of NHL teams. However, with that being all said, teams have to make sure that they leave at least 2 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 1 goalie vulnerable for the draft. Otherwise, teams, they could protect all of their players, and that would leave Las Vegas for no one to protect. So, what do I think this team is going to look like? Well, for the purpose of this assignment, I decided to assume that every team is going to be protecting their players based on the 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie format. And I took into account point totals, average time on ice, age, and even salary into account when I was trying to select who a team would or wouldn't protect. Now, this is what I think the Las Vegas team is going to look like. In no particular order, the forwards that I selected were Matt Bolesky, Carl Soidenberg, Dale Weiss, Mikhail Brodker, Cody Eakins, Jay Beagle, Boone Jenner, Martin Hansel, Jamie McGinn, Vladislav Nemetsov, Marcus Grunland, Mikhail Zibanejad, and then Neil Yakupov, Brian Boyle, Mark Letestu, Devontae Smith-Pelly, Casey Bailey, and Luke Glendening. So those are what I think the forwards might be for this new Las Vegas team. On defense, in no particular order, we have Sami Vatanen, Justin Falk, Dmitry Kulikov, Alexei Yemelin, Matthias Ekholm, Thomas Hiskey, Michael Stone, Johnny Oduya, and Mark Syke. But most interesting, I think, or more interestingly, in my opinion, is the goalie situation. I think they have a really good goalie situation. They got Matt Murray, Ben Bishop, and Michael Hutchinson. In my opinion, that's what I think the new Las Vegas team might look like. This assignment was actually a really cool opportunity for me to take something that I was passionate about, so hockey in this case, and really kind of dive into it. And regardless of what I was able to get done and what I wasn't able to get done, this gave me an opportunity to look at a whole bunch of different things and work on a whole bunch of different skills. Through this assignment, I had to do a whole bunch of number crunching. Originally, I was going to see if this team was going to be competitive, so I had to go through and I had to add up a whole bunch of numbers. So like I looked at every team's like goals for, goals against, the stats, their top 10 players, and like all of those things can be related in a mathematical concept to schooling. And then besides that, there's a language component that I actually really enjoyed. Just going through and writing down these teams, writing down explanations, like all of this you can see on my blog, and I have Google Docs up, but there's a huge language component to this as well. And then you also have to think about critical thinking. This took a lot of time. Just going through and drafting these players took me about 4 to 5 hours just to figure out who I wanted to pick, because there are a lot of stats that you have to consider, and you have to weigh on what you think this team needs and where they might be lacking, or what they might have too much of. And for all of those reasons, I think this is a really good assignment to have in the classroom. Maybe not to the depth that I took it, but it really was enjoyable for me, and it didn't feel like work, which I thought was really interesting, really cool. And I would totally recommend doing this type of Genius Hour project with your students, because it in itself it's an inquiry project that can be integrated with so many different subjects, and for that I really enjoyed it. And fingers crossed, maybe I got a few players right for this upcoming draft.